I'm Hasani Pettiford, your infidelity recovery specialist, and this is another coaching session takeaway. So I just completed another session with a couple that I see on a weekly basis, and I found this one to be quite insightful. Obviously, the husband recently discovered um, betrayal on his wife's part, and dealing with this has been new, has been fresh, has been extremely difficult. So obviously, in the beginning stages of the recovery process, it's emotionally volatile. There's a lot of arguments, a lot of fights, and he finds himself literally verbally unleashing on her. And so a lot of the pain and the hurt and the betrayal that he feels internally, he's unleashing it. And so we got into a conversation about what his objective was. Like, what was the purpose of the verbal attack? Like, what is he hoping to gain? And in this particular situation, we have a husband who's deeply hurt by his wife's past infidelity, but he's struggling to reconcile with her present healthier self. See, this betrayal happened years ago, but he just discovered it. Since that betrayal, she's gone through a healing process in the journey to become the best version of herself. He's just now finding out. And so all he can see her as is her former self. So he has a fixation on her older self, though he's dealing with the present version of her. And so in our session, he admitted that, when he's attacking her, what he's really doing is he's looking into her eyes to find her former self, her unhealthy self. And I said, well, that's interesting. What are you hoping to do? Like, why would you be talking to your wife's older self? Well, number one, he feels betrayed not just by the act of infidelity, but by the person that his wife was at the time. And so his anger is directed towards her older self because that's the persona that he associates with his pain. And so he feels like her past actions were a violation that has gone unpunished, unacknowledged. And his conversation with her is an attempt to let her know. The challenge is, as he's talking to the former version of her, the responses that he's getting is from the present version of her. And it's hard to connect these dots. So it's almost like he's having a conversation with two different people. But by addressing the older self, he hopes to hold her accountable and to make her feel the weight of her actions. This is deep because he seems to believe that venting his anger and frustration to the older self will somehow bring a sense of closure and validation to what he's currently going through. However, the older version of her no longer exists, making his efforts unfortunately futile, and it helps to perpetuate this pain. Doesn't do anything to his feelings of humiliation. They're still there. The feelings of embarrassment, still there. The feelings of loss. And so this is what I found interesting that so many individuals go through, and maybe you can relate to this because this has caught you off guard and you're trying to heal and you're trying to move forward and you want to give this marriage a chance, but you are haunted by the ghosts of your relational past. And so by him talking to the former self, the things that he hopes to accomplish ultimately is he wants to be acknowledged. He wants the older self to fully grasp the depth of the pain that he's going through, hoping that it will somehow rectify the past. By controlling, or excuse me, by confronting the past, he feels that he may be able to restore some sense of control or dignity. He believes that venting these emotions will somehow lighten the emotional burden that he's feeling. But the challenge with all of this, and this is why usually in the very beginning stages of the recovery process, one thing that helps you get through is time. There's got to be an unleashing, there's got to be a releasing of that emotional toxicity. Because if it does not fully come out, you will be trapped in this emotional pain and it will fuel the conversations and the interactions that you have with your spouse. And so the challenge here, once again, is that in his vitriol, in his contempt, in his anger, which is justified because of what has happened, his wife has evolved. This person no longer exists. And he's trying to make amends with someone who's no longer here. And his fixation on the past self prevents him from seeing her current efforts. Now, he does acknowledge it, but it's hard because he's shifting from past to present to an anticipated future. And so, listen, if this is where you find yourself, if you're struggling to overcome the pain that you've endured for the affair, if you're struggling to engage in conversations, healthy, productive conversations with your wife or with your husband, whoever was the offender, because you're trapped in the memory of the past, this is why you need to reach out to us, because your attempt to have these conversations on your own oftentimes are futile. They're met with a whole lot of resistance, a whole lot of pain. There are missteps made along the way. Even with the best of intentions, things typically go wrong. Couples either go from 0 to 100 real quick, or they emotionally shut down and don't engage in these conversations. And yet they are not moving forward. It feels like they're taking several steps back. If this is you and you want to get out of this, what we would call crazy cycle, reach out to us. That's what we're here for. My wife and I formed a practice called Couples Academy, where we specifically work with couples who've been through betrayal and are trying to restore the relationship. Just reach out to us. 678-200-8996. The number and the link to the website to set up a discovery call is in the description. You don't have to suffer alone. You can get out of this situation. And so with this couple that we're working with, because they are committed to the journey that we're taking them on, they will get out of this stuck place to get to a healthier place. So hope that helped. Whether you're going through counseling with someone or not, hopefully this video has served you well. And if there's anything that we can do to further assist you, please let us know.